This is how you complete the super Easter egg on Verdansk 2025 in Warzone. Now, unfortunately, it's extremely underwhelming, and of course, we're going to be getting a super Easter egg at some point for Black Ops 6 Zombies, and let's just pray it's a lot better than this. So there are 30 different Easter eggs on the map that you need to complete. Some of them are literally just reading pieces of intel, and you can do them in any particular order, any mode. However, it's probably the easiest to do them in Plunder or Battle Royale Casual. So on Verdansk, there are various different police stations scattered across the map. Now, I don't have a map that shows all of them, but pretty much there's about one in each of the different towns. On screen, you can see a few different markers. Anyways, once you manage to locate one of the police stations, if you go inside, every single one will contain a computer that you were able to interact with. Upon interacting, it will give you some loot and some XP, and it shows a checklist for 30 different Easter eggs that you need to complete. So if at any point you are unsure which ones you have done, you can come to one of these machines to be able to track it, and this has been tracking literally since Verdansk was introduced. So if you have done any of the Easter eggs prior to these computers being active, it doesn't matter, they should still show up as being completed. However, there might be some issues with some of them tracking. I had to redo a couple, for example, which is why it's recommended to check the checklist to see which ones you should go ahead and do. So pretty much all of these Easter eggs are basically just paying homage to the history of Verdansk and Warzone in general. There doesn't seem to be a proper storyline going on. I guess it's about this hacker you can see the symbol for, and on Bunker Zero there's the symbol for, from the bunker on Rebirth Island before. So there's a loose storyline, but it doesn't really make much sense, and you can do these in any particular order. So the first lot of challenges are just intel that you need to interact with around the map. The first one is a reference to the destruction of Verdansk. So if you come to this point on the TAC map, you can see on screen outside of the stadium, you can find a skid mark here, which is where the nuke hit for the destruction of Verdansk. However, it doesn't seem to have gone off in this. Now, I don't really think this is any indication as to canon. I think they're scrapping Warzone being part of the overall storyline. To be honest, I think, like I say, these Easter eggs are just paying homage to the history. Anyways, if you come by the nuke, there's a note that you can read, so just interact with that. It says, don't forget to tighten the screws, otherwise the missile might not detonate, resulting in a catastrophic non-explosion that won't be the end of Verdansk, from Miss L, the supervisor, which I think is a pun for missile. So yeah, this is the way of them writing around the nuke being retconned, but like I say, I think it's just a joke. It's not meant to be taken that seriously. The number 2 challenge you need to complete is you need to head over to the Gulag Zorgia prison complex, and if you head into the showers themselves, this is a reference to Caldera this time, because there is a little wooden bench here with a table tennis bat, and there's a note next to it, interact with that, and it says, as thanks for your protection in here, I thought you'd like this freshly cleaned vintage paddle from your home of Caldera. Just don't ever ask me how I smuggled it in here, I guess in his ass, from your cellmate. The third challenge to complete is a reference to the Roze skin that was basically invisible, that was annoying everyone in the original Verdansk before it was patched. And for this one, you need to head to this building that you can see marked on the TAC map on screen, below in the middle between the military base and the quarry. Once you make your way into this building, you want to head to this specific staircase where it says, Roze was here, graffitied on the wall, and there's a note by it that says, does nobody check their corners? I've been hiding here for days. They open the door and don't even shoot. I wish I could ask one after I've killed them. I just don't understand it. I'm in the dark here. So obviously, like I said, this is a reference to the fact that the skin was extremely dark, so people would hide in the corners and just camp, and it was difficult to see. Furthermore, the fourth piece of intel to collect is a reference to the red door teleporters from Verdansk 84. So you want to head to this building that you can see marked on the TAC map on screen in the Karst River quarry. Head in here up to the top floor, and at the back you will see that there is a red door here with a lot of police tape around it, and interact with the note. This says, this door must remain closed due to unforeseen disappearances. We are sorry for the inconvenience, from the administration office. So I don't know if this is a teaser that they'll bring the red doors back at some point in the future, maybe with the Black Ops 7 integration, I'm not exactly sure. The fifth piece of intel to collect is Hunt for Adler, which is a reference to when Stitch and Adler were battling it out in Verdansk. Obviously, Stitch just returned in Black Ops 6 Season 4. This piece of intel can be found in the hospital that you can see marked on the TAC map on screen. Once you are inside this building, you want to head to this hospital bed, and you will see Stitch's telephone with a note next to it. The note reads, to the owner of this phone, how old is this thing? I couldn't track you down since there are no saved numbers/data. Also, I don't want to touch it because it seems to be covered in blood. I hope whoever was injured got stitched up, obviously a reference to Stitch, so I'm just leaving it in case you come back to find it. And I hope you do. I know how it feels to forget my phone at home. It's torture. So yeah, I don't know how his phone has somehow remained in the building all of these years later, and with the Season 4 cutscene, it never confirms if Adler actually shoots Stitch. I have to assume he just shot the floor and decided to keep him alive, which is weird on its own accord. But yeah, this shows that there is not really a proper storyline here. It's just a load of mess. The 6th piece of intel to find is the supply box. This one can be found in the boneyard on this specific point marked on the tac map on screen. And if you come over here, you will see a soldier that has been crushed by one of the supply boxes. And there is a note to read by it, which reads, "By calling in this loadout drop, you accept that the manufacturer is not liable for any misuse of the product leading to injury or death from above. Please read this out loud to any individuals located underneath the product." The 7th piece of intel is yet another reference to Verdansk being nuked, but this time to the Vodianoy shipwreck that brought the zombies to the map, which is why it ended up getting nuked to begin with. So you want to head to this point marked on the tac map on screen on the coast by the Gulag. This is the point where the Vodianoy initially pulled up on Verdansk back in 2021. If you come over here, you will see 2 deceased zombies with stim shots in each of them, just like they had the stims in the Haunting of Verdansk or leading up to the Nuke event. And if you read the note that is on the boat that is near them, it says, "Madame, you may have received a letter just 1 day ago about your husband's death. Please disregard. I am delighted to inform you that he is, in fact, making a full recovery. He is awake, albeit disorientated, and already has quite an appetite. I believe he will be up and walking again in no time. The remaining text is covered by blood." So again, I don't think this is really anything meant to be a canon storyline. It's just a joke about a husband turning into a zombie, getting an appetite, and obviously it being covered in blood, although the note doesn't actually have blood on it that you see in the game. Moving along, we have the 8th piece of intel, and this one can be found in the train station marked on this specific point that you can see on screen. So once you head up here, you just want to head into the building where there's an exhibition where you can see loads of things held in glass. Carry on through the building, and on top of this crate there is another note that you can read, and it says, "Tomorrow is the grand opening of the 5th anniversary exhibit, and I've been asked to clarify, we are only displaying inoperable equipment. Also note you are not allowed to test equipment in case it is, in fact, operable. So you can only use what will not work for displays, not display what you cannot use because it would work." I'm happy we've cleared this up, train station administration. So for some weird reason, they had a bunch of lethal weapons being held in this train station, which we can obviously break into and physically use in the game. Doesn't make much sense, but it is what it is. In addition, we have the 9th piece of intel. Now this one is just slightly more complicated than the previous ones because it does require 1 simple step before being able to read it. So for this one, you want to head to the Gora village, to this specific building that you can see marked on the tac map on screen below the dam. Once you head into the building, you will see that there are these wine shelves with a note on it. And if you read the note, it says that this shelf will need to be filled with bottles, otherwise it will be too easy to discover the secret lever, and I want to keep my fortune. So this is a reference to Fortune's Keep, and to the right of it there is a wine bottle saying Dragon's Cove Vintage 1976 wine. Make sure to interact with that. After doing so, it'll open up a secret room to the right, and it will drop you some cash that you can collect for free. Make sure you do both because I believe both are needed to be interacted with for it to track. So those are all of the intel Easter eggs out of the way. The rest are all proper multi-step Easter eggs. So the 10th one is the secret storage unit that you can access within Storage Town. So in order to do this, you first need to locate a key which is found out of bounds on the map. And where it can be specifically found is in the top right of the map on this specific point that you can see on the tac map on screen. So if you come over to this area just by this rock, you will see that there is a sleeping bag, and you want to very quickly run up to it out of bounds, and you can then collect a mysterious key from it. And there is an axe right by it as well, and also a crate. Then quickly head back onto the map before you die, and you then need to traverse all the way to the opposite side of the map because you want to head over to the storage town, to this specific building you can see on the tac map on screen. Once you make your way up to this room, it says storage locked. However, you will be able to open it because you've collected the key. Now be crouched and be wary because there are 2 trip mines in here, so slowly move up to the first one and just hold the interact button to deactivate it, then move a bit forward and hold the interact button once again to defuse the other one. After you've defused both of them, come up to the computer and hold the interact button to unlock the crate. You must do this for this Easter egg to track track, the first time I did it, I just opened the crate straight away and it didn't seem to count, and you'll get some cool loot from it. In my game, I got a purple weapon and a kill streak, and there is another note that you can interact with on the table which says, "I will not die a traitor," which I guess is the hacker, probably. That's whose backpack it was. Make sure you interact with this as well. I assume it's all needed to be able to track. The 11th checklist is to complete the bank vault Easter egg, so now I'm going to show you how to do that. So in order to do this, you need to head to the downtown Verdansk district to the bank, which you can see on the tac map on screen. Once you are here, you need to check the 3 different rooms upstairs, as within one of these rooms, at random within your game, a biometric scanner will spawn in on the wall. Once you have managed to successfully locate it, just check all of the rooms, it's going to be in one of these. You can then interact with it to activate the biometric scanner. This will drop a hardware gift card which you can collect from the ground. Once you have this hardware gift card, you need to then head to any of the different buy stations on the map, but obviously it's recommended to head to the one that is closest to you, as you can see what I'm doing, marking it on the tac map on screen. So once you head to a buy station, if you come over here, you will see it'll say keys available, listing the hardware gift card as a special item, and you can then buy it and it will drop you a diamond bit drill which you can then collect. Now bear in mind, if you die at any point during this, it will drop the item, so just be wary of that, and you will have to collect it again or kill the person whoever got you if you want to do this successfully. But once you have the drill, you want to head back to the bank, where there is specifically a vault section where you can see on the tac map on screen. When I first tried to do this, I died going in here, and I ended up luckily going back to the spot, and luckily the drill was still on the ground and the person didn't take it, so I picked it back up. But when you have the drill, you can then interact with the bank vault's door, and it will begin drilling open the safe, and it will say heist completed when it finishes. Now this may take a little bit of time, and once you go in here, you can get thousands and thousands of cash. As you can see, I get an absolute boatload, and this is so useful for plunder, but of course it's very useful on regular battle royale as well. This really is a game changer. I don't believe there's any really storyline references within this vault, but correct me if I'm wrong. The 12th Easter egg is the graveyard one, so this is how you do this. So for this, you need to locate a club, and there's many different spawn locations for this. One can be found in the quarry, right next to the red door that I showed you earlier on in this video. A couple of the spawn locations can be in these outside regions of the stadium, just in the corners here. Another spawn has been added for the club in the Season 4 update, which is at the base of the new lookout tower in the downtown district. These are all of the spawn locations that I know of. Let me know in the comments if you know of any others for the club. Honestly, I would just recommend restarting your game until you get it to spawn in where you want it. Anyways, once you have located the shovel, whether it's at this spot or another spawn location, you now need to head to the Verdansk graveyard that you can see marked on the tac map on screen. If you head over here and you come over to this statue, you will see that there are going to be some question marks with an interact button that'll show up. I don't know what this statue is supposed to be. It has a crown on, it looks very creepy, and it's holding some flowers, I think, or torches. Anyways, if you interact with it, it will then drop you a bunch of loot, such as legendary weapons, ammunition. Just a cool little Easter egg here. I believe this is a reference to the zombie grave Easter egg we had on Fortune's Keep back in the day. I hope this guide has helped.
The more things change, the more they stay the same.
The 13th Easter egg to complete is the Sea Treasures Machine, which seems to be a reference to Ashika Island. So the first thing you need to do is locate a coin. Now this has many different spawn locations, and I believe you just find it along the coast, predominantly found on the boats. The most common place that I have found it in is the boat where there is actually the note by the dead zombies. So I would just recommend sort of walking along the coast, checking all of the boats, checking all of this area, and you should be able to find it if someone hasn't taken it before you. And it's the Sea Treasures token, and once you finally find it, you can then collect it. Once you find it, you then need to head to Promenade East, and you need to head to this specific shop building that you can see on the tac map on screen. If you then head into this market, you will see in this corner to the left of the door, there is a machine you can interact with to put the coin in, and it will grant you a bunch of loot, weapons, ammo, armor, cash, equipment, etc. Just a cool little Easter egg. All of these Easter eggs seem to be referencing, you know, the past past Easter eggs across all of the maps, not just Verdansk. Swiftly along, we have the floating doors Easter egg, which is a really fun one. Now, this is a reference to an old glitch that would happen on Vondel back in the day, as most of these new Easter eggs added onto the map are references to the history of Warzone, not just Verdansk, all of the maps. Anyways, in order to do this, you want to head over to the Gulag, and you want to be checking all of the different prison cells, because there is going to be a piece of paper with a puzzle on it that randomly spawns in one of them. It can spawn on the walls as well as the boxes. They're the only locations that I have seen thus far. Now, I do believe there are other spawn locations for it as well, because I have restarted my game many times, literally over 20 times, and it kept not being in any of the cells. Now, there are a lot of cells, so that's a lot of spawn locations since there's literally 3 floors of them. So it's possible there's other spawn locations within the Gulag or potentially even elsewhere on the map. It can spawn in the cells above the shower as well, where you duel when you die. So I do think there's probably more spawns in the Gulag entirely. So just look all over the prison complex. Since recording, I've also found it in the Gulag showers itself. So yeah, I do think it can pretty much spawn in any of the Gulag, or at the very least any of the underground section of the Gulag. And it isn't exclusive to the cells specifically. So if you happen to find any other spawn locations for it, please let me know in the comments below. It'll definitely help the community out. Anyways, I literally restarted my game many times, and I eventually found it spawn in this cell on the back wall here. I would recommend either just remembering it or taking a screenshot or a picture of the image once you find it, and on the image it will display a letter and a number which is pointing you to a specific coordinate on the map that you need to head towards. So in this case it's I8, so I know I need to head towards I8. From my experience, it does seem to be I8 every single game, but maybe I've just gotten lucky and gotten it back to back. So it does seem to always be close to you, and it also displays a collection of doors, 8 to be specific, and on 4 of the doors are going to be circles ranging from small to large, and you need to remember the order of small to large. In my case, I just took a screenshot because it's a lot easier than trying to memorize, but anyways, once you have the screenshot or have remembered it, you need to then interact to read it. After you do so, it will spawn these doors floating around on the map in the specific coordinates. So I'm heading over to I8 specifically, and it's going to be somewhere within this coordinate. So just look around the entire section in the sky until you manage to find it. I find it floating in the sky over here. So I come over to the boardwalk and I can look up, and I now need to shoot the doors in the specific order from small to large. So I first need to shoot the bottom left one, the third one on the top row, the top left one, the second one on the bottom row, and then the second one on the top row. Not all of them are circled, so you only need to shoot the ones that are actually circled. As you shoot each one correctly, you'll hear an indication noise knowing you've done it correctly. Unfortunately, you'll fail it if you do it wrong. But once you've managed to successfully shoot them in the correct order, they will all float away, and then a supply crate will then spawn in on the map somewhere close. So I'm just watching them float off in the distance. It's a very funny sight, and then I can head over to the supply crate to go ahead and collect it. So this can grant a bunch of loot, kill streaks, a ton of cash. I get 20,000 here, very useful for plunder. It also drops some weapons for you, ammunition, and a bunch of other stuff. I hope this Easter egg has been useful. It's very cool. The 15th Easter egg, I believe, is the most challenging one, and this is how you unlock the airport subway station, where you can go ahead and get yourself the specialist bonus. Unfortunately, there is no Juggernaut in here, unlike in the original Verdansk, but there is the potential it might get added in the future, or they might add some other different rewards in this, because currently as it stands, the Easter egg is definitely way too arduous and tedious for it to be worth doing, and it's exactly the same process as in the original Verdansk, so if you've played that before, you probably already know what to do, or if you need a refresher, this video is for you, or if you're a brand new player, once again, this video will be very helpful. I really hope they do add some better rewards for all of the Easter eggs on Verdansk 2025, because currently, I've done literally every single one, and I can tell you, not one is worth doing, which is a massive shame, because a lot of effort's gone into a lot of especially the unique Easter eggs. For what purpose? So for this Easter egg, you need to head to the down downtown art gallery that you can see marked on the tac map on screen. Once you enter here, because obviously it's an art gallery, there are many different paintings hung on the corridors as well as in the main room. What I would recommend doing for this Easter egg, instead of trying to attempt it straight away, I would recommend trying to memorize the positions of where all of these paintings are located. Depending on how good your memory is, this might just take one game or many different games. I would recommend just sort of hanging out here and trying to do that, probably in Plunder or Battle Royale Casual, just to make it easier for you. Now, if you have a fantastic memory, by all means attempt the Easter egg straight away, but from my own personal experience, it took many different attempts to finally be able to master it. So the artworks of many different things, such as a palace, a house, a cliff, a river. There is also a blank one that just has a plaque underneath, a forest with a river running through it, an owl, and there's also a vase with some plants in. And there are duplicates of many of these paintings, so bear that in mind. You are going to be required to remember where they are, so depending on whichever sequence you get, which I'm about to explain, obviously go to whichever one is easiest and makes the most sense for those duplicate instances. The paintings are in the exact same location every single game. They are not randomized. However, there are different numbers that are going to randomize that I'll explain in a second, correlated with each of the paintings. So once you have a good idea of the positionings of the paintings and you feel confident, in this town hall building, you can go up to this button and interact with it, and the code you need to input is 2179. Now this is the exact same in every single game. After you've inputted the code correctly, it will begin a lockdown where gas will start slowly seeping into the building. And you have about 2 minutes to do this, otherwise you will just die to the gas, so be cautious of that. And if you are a random player and you happen to be in here while someone else is doing the Easter egg, there's a good chance you might die, so just be wary of that as well. This can be used to troll people. Once the lockdown's begun, you just need to come over to this computer behind where the button is, and if you interact with it, it will show you 4 different pictures which are smaller sections from each of the different paintings. And after it displays each of the paintings, it will either show an X, which means that the number stays the same, or a plus or a negative number, which is telling you how many numbers you want to add or subtract. On screen right now, you can see an image which correlates each of the smaller sections of the paintings to their larger counterparts, so that you can match up and memorize which one's which. Now, like remembering the paintings, it may take some time to get used to remembering which painting is which, and you can see they're all labeled with different names, but feel free to use any of your own naming conventions you want. Of course, the shorter, the easier. Now, on the image on screen, you can see for the boat, this one is correlated to the one that isn't up on the wall, so bear that in mind. So what I would recommend doing is writing down, if your memory isn't that great, each of the paintings it displays. So in my particular game, it displayed the horse with the number -1 next to it. It displayed the snowy cliff with the number -2, the house with the number -2, and then the meat or the plant vase with the number +2. So if you now head over to the paintings, there is going to be a random number underneath each of the paintings. And if you've gotten an X for your number, it remains unchanged, and you want to write that number down. If it's a plus or a negative number, you want to add or take that away. In my case, the horse was displaying number 6 and the computer said -1, so the first code sequence is number 5. The cliff was displaying the number 5 and the computer said -2, so my second sequence is number 3. The house was displaying number 9 and the computer said -2, so I get number 7 as my third code. The meat or the plant was displaying number 6, the computer said +2, so I get the number 8 as my fourth and final code. Now, the numbers are in Roman numerals. Most people know Roman numerals, but you can see the Roman numerals on screen if you need to memorize these as well. I would recommend taking a screenshot of the paintings matching with the smaller sections on screen right now so that you can memorize them. So after you've worked out the correct 4-digit code sequence, you can go back to the computer and interact with it again, and it's going to display the sequence of paintings to you once again, after which it will then allow you to input the code. So in my game, like I said, I worked out the sequence is 5378, so I inputted that number code literally in the nick of time because the gas was about to kill me, and it went blue and said that the subway is now able to be opened. So as you can see, how I explained it was to interact with the computer first, note down the numbers correlated with the paintings, and then find the numbers on the paintings and work out the code. Now, alternatively, you can do it the other way around, which is looking at all of the different paintings and then going over to the computer, but that doesn't make sense because because then you're going to have to remember a lot more numbers. This is a much easier way to do it. And you can also interact with the computer as many times as you wish during this tight time frame if the paintings and their numbers associated went by too quickly on the computer screen. However, you are very short on time doing this, so probably if you've looked at it twice, you're going to run out of time, so bear that in mind. So you will die if you fail to input the code correctly, or you just take too long. The gas will kill you, and if you do so, you can then come back over to the hall gallery, and you can do this once again. However, this time it's going to be a different sequence. So after you've inputted the code correctly on the computer, you can then head over to the airport subway entrance, to the specific point on the tac map that you can see on screen. Once you come over here, you can then go up to this door, and you can interact with the button to unlock the subway, and you can go down inside, and there's some chests and some loot that you can get from here, but the main thing is if you come over to the train itself, or the carriage, you can go ahead and collect your specialist bonus. So yeah, there's a bunch of crates that you can explore to get loot, but unfortunately there's not crazy loot you get from this. Before, you would get a juggernaut guaranteed, I believe, in the original Verdansk, so this is a much worse version, so maybe they will update the loot in the future or give some sort of reward, because this is a lot of effort to memorize and do. For there to be no reward is absolutely insane. You really should be getting at least a blueprint for all of the Easter eggs on Verdansk 2025. If they do at any point change the rewards, I will be sure to add a pinned comment letting you know so you can determine if you think this is worth it or not. Furthermore, 16, 17, and 18 are for unlocking all three of the shacks on the map: the prison shed, the TV station shed, and the farmland secret room. So now I'm going to show you the codes and where all three of these are located. As since its return, the codes have actually changed. So there are notes around the map, such as this one I found in the TV station, that tell you the exact codes you need to input. However, you don't need them, as luckily for you, the codes are going to be the exact same in every single game, and you don't need to collect the notes first. So this first shack can be found on the tac map that you can see on screen to the northwest of the stadium. So if you come over to this shack, you can unlock the keypad from either side of it, and the specific number sequence you need to input is 0185947 I will also have in the description and the pinned comment the codes written out for each one, so you can easily remember them. I would suggest screenshotting this if you ever want to remember it for the future, and once you enter, you can go ahead and grab your loot. And once you are inside, there is a map of Verdansk, and there's a bunch of different notes and storyline teasers from Spec Ops, I believe, for the most part, in the past, and there's different blueprints of different weapons that Zakhaev and stuff used and transported. The next shack can be found to the left of the Gulag that you can see on the tac map on screen, and if you head over to this shack, once again, you can enter it from either side, but the code you need to input this time is 13584927. So once again, after you input that, it will unlock the door, and you can go ahead and grab some loot. There is the model of the RCXD in production, and there's different books and notes once again, as well as I believe some things from Pawn Takes Pawn back in the day. So like the last one, there isn't really too much loot in here, but it's just a nice little thing. I get self-revive, for example. The third and final shack can this time be located within the farmland in this barn that you can see on the tac map on screen. So this one's a bit different because it isn't just a little room, but if you head into this barn and go up to this corner below the staircase, you can then input a code here to enter. This time it's 36158294. Once again, it'll open up and you can go ahead and grab yourself some loot. Again, there's some notes and different things around here. There is also the telephone with the number 53125 on here. So obviously these were used to tease Pawn Takes Pawn to reveal Black Ops Cold War last time, so I'm wondering if these are going to be used to tease Black Ops 7 in a similar fashion and its reveal once again. Okay, so those are all of the big Easter eggs out of the way. The remaining 12 Easter eggs are simply to unlock every single one of the bunkers on the map. So there's bunkers 0 to 11. First of all, this is how you unlock the infamous bunker 0, marked as an X on the computer. So first of all, head to bunker 0 itself, which can be located at this point at the bottom of the map that you can see on the tac map on screen. Once you are here, there's nothing you need to do apart from entering a specific code, which is actually the letter X in binary. So the only way we even knew how to unlock this one was because the computer screen was giving us a clue towards X, and X also being graffitied on the outskirts outskirts of the bunker, and on the bunker itself there's graffiti as well of this symbol from the hacker. Not really sure what the storyline relevance is. Is Elon Musk running Ravensoft? Like, what the hell is going on? So all you need to do is input the code 010110000, after which the door will unlock and you can go inside. Now unfortunately it's just like the other bunkers in the game, there's no special blueprint, no special reward, not even really that good loot, so none of these bunkers are really worth doing. Secondly, we now have how to unlock all of the bunkers that have specific key codes that you need to input. First of all, for bunker 1, you want to head to this area of the map in the southwest to this specific point you can see on screen. Once you make your way into the bunker, you want to input this specific code, which is 042222021. Now this code was given to us on the Nuke calendar, so that's how we knew about it. And like the other bunkers in the game, currently there's not anything crazy within these bunkers. You can get some orange crates, and there's all the nostalgic stuff from the bunkers of old, but there's not really anything special, and you cannot open the other sections of the bunker just yet. Maybe they'll be opened up in the future, maybe they'll add some better loot in these at a future point. Now we have a bunker 3 that can be found on this specific point on the TAC map on screen. So head over here, and once you get into the bunker, the specific code that you need to input is 301988805. Similar to bunker 1, this code was given to us because it was on top of the supermarket's promotional poster. And again, once you go inside, you can get some orange crates, kill streaks, there's a Lenin statue on the desk, and a load of other stuff, but nothing too crazy. Finally, the third bunker that has a specific code that you need to input is bunker 10. This time, the game does not give anything away for what the code actually is, and this can be found right at the bottom of the map on this specific point on screen. So if you head over here, the code you need to input is 31547206, and this is the reversed version of the code that you had to input to enter bunker 10 in the original Verdansk. People were just testing this out, I guess. I don't think there's any clue in game to suggest to do that, but it's an obvious thing to try out. Once again, the same kind of loot can be found inside, nothing too crazy. These bunkers are smaller than, for example, bunker 11. Now I want to move on to the bunkers that you can open specifically with the red as well as the blue keycards you can get on the map. So unlike the other bunkers in the game that require specific codes or an Easter egg to unlock, these ones you can unlock basically by random luck. So as you are looting throughout the map, there is a random chance to get a red or a blue keycard from the crates on the map. This is entirely random, there is not better odds depending on different parts of the map, and of course you can also get them from killing an enemy who has one on their person. Anyways, if you are lucky enough to get a red keycard, this one can open 3 specific bunkers on the map, which are bunkers 4, bunkers 5, and bunker 6. And you can see the map on screen that shows the locations for them. Now if you get a blue keycard, this time it opens bunkers 2, 7, or 8. And you don't need to input anything to open. As soon as you have the keycard, you can just interact with the pad and it will begin opening up. You can just go in and get various different loot like kill streaks and the different crates. There is a Lenin statue in here. You can only open one bunker with the keycard. You cannot open multiple. And there's not anything special in the bunkers at this moment in time. You just get a bunch of loot. There isn't really too much craziness going on. And currently the deeper sections of all of the bunkers on the map are still locked. And of course you need to be wary when entering in case there's other enemies around. And finally we have how to unlock bunker 11, which is the hardest and most difficult one to do, which has the best rewards in it as well, albeit they're still not that great, especially considering the time it takes to do this quest. So this Easter egg is actually exactly the same as the original Verdansk, and unfortunately there's not a proper reward for this, and the loot isn't that crazy as well. Anyways, in order to do this, if you've done the original, you'll be familiar. However, if you need a refresher or you're new to the franchise, on screen right now you can see a map created by Detonated, and at each of these points are going to be phones. phones. So first of all, you only want to focus on the red markers on screen for the first phone that you need to find on the map. So when you spawn in your game, pick a location, one you think is probably going to have the least people going there as well to go to. And if you head over to this location and you can hear the phone ringing, it means that it is the correct spot, because basically not all of the phones are going to be ringing on the map, only some of them are. So if you go to the phone and it's not ringing, you can interact with it, but it's just pointless. So in that case, head to a different location that's closest to you for where the phone can be. And because it rings, this can help identify where it is, since you'll be able to hear it in the nearby vicinity. Now this ringing phone will ring in many of the positions on the map. There will only be a few positions that are not ringing, so it shouldn't be too difficult to find one that is ringing, and they all give you the same message. It doesn't matter which one you interact with. And also bear in mind, as you can see on the map on screen, there are some red and blue marked phones near each other, so make sure you are doing the correct one and you're on the right part of the map. Anyways, once you've located a ringing phone, you want to interact with it, and basically a Russian soldier is going to begin speaking to you, and they are going to read off 3 numbers in Russian, but obviously most of you probably watching this video don't speak Russian, and it is a must to have subtitles turned on for this, because it will tell you the subtitles on screen, so you won't have to be trying to listen to what they're actually saying. And on screen right now you can see the numbers 1 to 10 in Russian, and basically you just want to note down the 3 numbers read out in Russian in the subtitles with what the English number actually is, or whatever language is best for you. I assume since you're watching an English speaking video, English is best for you. So you can either take a screenshot as each number is stated, and then you can write them down or try and remember it, or you can just write them down as they're being said, or just remember it if your memory is really great. Whatever the case may be, you need to remember the order. So in my particular game, the 3 numbers that I read out in Russian were 0, 5, 3. And this is where the other phones come into play, marked blue on the map. So jumping back to the map on screen right now, as you can see, they have various different numbers on. So basically, you need to activate the 3 different phones in the precise order that you heard from the ringing phone. So in my particular case, I first had to go to telephone 0, which is found to the right of the dam. So I headed over here and interacted with the phone, and you should just hear a buzzing noise. The second phone location is number 5, so I had to head over to the TV station. Now, like I said before, there are some points where there's a red and a blue marker here, so in this case I had to make sure that I was interacting with the correct phone. However, if you do so happen to interact with one of the red markers, it doesn't matter, it'll just read off the number sequence once again, which you might need anyways to help you remember. Anyways, after I've interacted with that, I then need to go over to the third and final telephone, this time located at the top of the quarry. So I made my way over here and interacted with the third and final phone. If you have done this correctly, the Russian person will begin speaking to you once again to let you know that you are done and Bunker 11 is now ready to be opened. If at any point you get interference instead or interrupted, it means that you've done the order incorrectly, but it shouldn't be too difficult to do, in which case you can start the ordering again. However, you would probably be so late into your game by that point, there's not really any point. After I did all of that, it's time to head to Bunker 11, which can be found right at the top of the map, northeast of the dam, literally right over here. And you do not need to input any number, just interact with the keypad, and if you've done the phones correctly, it will then open up. Now, unfortunately for me, the game literally came to a close as I managed to get in the bunker, but there's not really too crazy loot that you can get within the bunker. There are 2 legendary C9s, and you can also get the specialist perks, and there's a bunch of other loot that you can get. You can also see the nuke in the back if you remember from the original Verdansk, so I don't know if that means they're going to nuke it again at some point. I'm not exactly sure what's going on storyline wise, but yeah, it's a lot of effort to do this for not really much purpose, so honestly I wouldn't recommend this at all, and you can do it in any mode as well, it doesn't matter. It is a shame that there's no exclusive blueprints like in the original. Maybe they'll add something else in here in the future, but that's all for now. So after you have unlocked all of the bunkers as well as interacted with all of the other pieces of intel around the map and completed all of the other Easter eggs, once you've done all 30, you can head back once again to any of the police stations around the map and locate the computer once again. And you would think that after going through all of that tedious effort completing all of these Easter eggs, you would get something epic. epic, like a weapon blueprint, a camo, or just anything good, what do you get when you log into the database? 10,000 XP. That's all you get, 10,000 XP. Literally, I cannot believe it. I have spent so long doing all of these Easter eggs in the game just for that. If I wasn't making YouTube videos, I would have not gone through all of this tedious hassle. It's just absolutely mind-boggling to me that not one of these Easter eggs has a decent reward, literally not one. And I was hoping that with them adding a super Easter egg that they would give you something good for doing all of them. I thought they learned from their mistake and the complaints about the Easter eggs, so they were going to add something good. But no, there's nothing, so I'm really hoping that Ravensoft or High Moon or whoever was working on this Easter egg can respond to the feedback and actually give us something good if you've completed all of the Easter eggs. This is the first ever super Easter egg Warzone has ever received, and you literally get nothing. Back in the day with the original Verdansk, for doing all of the Easter eggs, you got blueprints, you got cool things. However, nowadays you get absolutely nothing. There's nothing good in the game itself, there's no permanent rewards. Literally all you get is XP for doing this. It is crazy to me how the developers thought that this was adequate. But yeah, when you exit out of the computer, some loot will drop, but it's not good loot at all either. So yeah, this was a complete waste. I don't know what the point of this was. Let me know in the comments if you've done all of this. I would not recommend it at all, but I'm hoping that they add some good loot in the future. I guess it's fun to do if you want a challenge, or maybe you want to get prepped because you feel like they might add better loot in the future. I honestly do not know, but I really hope that the Black Ops 6 Zombie Super Easter egg is way better than this. But obviously more Easter eggs will get added in the future, so I hope they get better rewards for this. I do not know why the Season 4 Lookout Tower Easter egg that was added is not a part of this. I don't know if they're going to add more Easter eggs to this in the future, and then maybe they can drop some good loot. That would be a good idea, but that's all I really wanted to say. This is very frustrating. I have poured so many hours into doing this just to inform you of what it actually is and to do my guides, otherwise it would have all been a waste. Thank you for watching the video. Make sure to subscribe if you're not here for latest and greatest Call of Duty news information. So anyways, thank you for watching, and bye.